everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley and today we're going to be finding my favorite book of 2021. I had this idea because I've seen so many people on Instagram this year posting a bracket on their stories every month where they're deciding what their favorite book of the month is, and then it brackets down to help them find what book was the best. I simply do not have that level of organization to do that every month. I just will forget and not keep up with it, but I thought it'd be fun to do at the end of the year and go through all the books I read, pick a favorite of each month, and then help that narrow down what are the top 2 and then the top 1 favorite book that I read this year. Because I don't know about you, but when anyone asks me what my favorite books are or the best book I read this year, I have to list like 10 options. I can never just narrow down to one. And so I thought this would be a good way to challenge myself to get down to what is that top 1 book that I can say is like my most recent favorite book when people ask. So it's gonna be difficult. I am definitely nervous about it, but I thought it should be fun. So the way we're gonna do this, I'm going to go through the brackets. So we'll go through the first half of the year, every single month, my favorite book from each month. Then we'll go through the second half of the year and do the same thing. And then I'm gonna go through and start bracketing down the first half of the year and then the second half of the year, and then choose between those two. Some months are gonna be easier than others because some months I know I had like a rock star read. Other months I read a lot of good things, and so those are gonna be hard, but we're just gonna do it. We're gonna do it together and we're gonna find what is my favorite book of 2021. So starting with the first month of the year, here are all the books that I read in January. January was a big reading month for me. There were some readathons. I really kicked off the year strong. I was reading a ton. Also DNFs are gonna be in here. So like Instant Karma, I DNF that. I know that's not gonna be a favorite of the year. The Wires and Nerve graphic novel series, I love them, but they're not like standout favorites beyond anything else. Truly Devious, I for sure didn't like. I'm not gonna go through every book. I'm just kind of like thinking my way through this now. The immediate ones that stand out to me are Night of the Mannequins. I really loved that novella. It was 5 stars. Of course, Migrations. I talk about that all the time. I sometimes forget I read it this early in the year, but that one obvious standout. And then The Girls I've Been by Tess Sharpe, also kind of a standout. It's one I forget about that I read it because I never hear people talk about it, but it was a really solid YA thriller. That was a lot of fun. But honestly, this one, how could I choose anything other than Migrations? Like Migrations, we all knew was going to be on this list and was going to be a standout. So Migrations is my pick for January. Okay, next up is February. Here are all the books that I read in February. Couple DNFs, couple reading vlogs mixed within here. This is when I did my cult reading vlog. So The Project, The Incendiaries, and The Girls are the books I read for that video. Didn't really like any of them, so I know those aren't gonna be it. What Big Teeth, I really loved that YA horror. It was incredible. Behind Her Eyes, I really loved that thriller. It was really surprising and really fun. And then The Devil in the Dark Water, I also really enjoyed this. It's just like such a rich mystery that has such great atmosphere and kept me so engaged the entire time, even though it's a really long book. Between those three, it's got to be between The Devil in the Dark Water and What Big Teeth. Like Behind Her Eyes was good, but at the end of the day, like it was just a thriller, you know. I kind of forget about those sometimes. What Big Teeth is a weird one. Not a lot of people talk about it. It's got a very niche audience, I feel. I really want to read it again because I don't fully remember everything about it. But The Devil in the Dark Water, like, oh my god, so good. I remember everything about that. I love that book so much. So that's gonna have to be my pick for February, is The Devil in the Dark Water. All right, moving on to March. Here are all the books that I read in March. The Echo Wife I did not like. Shipped I liked, but it doesn't leave a lasting impression on me. A Court of Thorns and Roses, surprisingly, I liked it enough to continue reading the rest of the series, but compared to the rest of the ACOTAR series, this one is not one I would want to reread. If you know, you know, but if you don't, then you probably don't know why. If I ever reread the series, I would just start with the second book and go on there. I don't really have special feelings for this first book. Delicate's really solid graphic novel. This Is How You Lose the Time War. Beautiful, kind of confusing. And then the other books I didn't really like as much. So that probably puts us between Shipped, Court of Thorns and Roses, and Delicates. So this is not a super solid month. None of these like stand out as, oh my god, that's a favorite. If I had to think about it, I honestly don't remember all the details of Delicates, so I feel like I can't pick that because it's not like an unforgettable graphic novel. This Is How You Lose the Time War was also really good, but I don't even like understand half the book, so I can't pick that. Shipped was good, but like it's just, you know, a romance that I can't even remember the main characters' names. Like I'm not obsessed with those characters. Like people we meet on vacation, we'll get to that, but like I remember Poppy and Alex, you know what I mean? But these characters, could not tell you their names. So I guess it's gonna leave us having to pick ACOTAR, which I think is fair. I gave it 4 stars. It's obviously the standout from this month, and it did get me really excited to read the rest of the series. So yeah, we're gonna have to say A Court of Thorns and Roses for March. All right, moving on to April, here are all the books that I read in April. This was definitely a better month. I really liked Dracula. I really liked A Court of Mist and Fury. I loved Every Bout You Break. I really loved Who is Maud Dixon. Couple DNFs in here. The space books, those are just like, we're not gonna talk about those. Honestly, not that hard of a decision for me. I feel like the right answer is Who is Maud Dixon. I really love that thriller. The first 80 pages are definitely super slow, but oh my gosh, it was just like so unpredictable and unexpected where it went for me. I just never really heard a lot of people talk about it, so I really got to just experience it for myself, discover it, and just be surprised, and it was so fun. And I definitely want to read it again too, so that's for sure what we're picking, Who is Maud Dixon, for April. All right, so now moving on to May. Here are all the books that I read in May. It was a little bit of a heavier reading month for me. I remember doing a couple of different reading vlogs. This is when I was packing all my stuff to move many states away, and it was a very stressful month, but recognizing a couple good reads in here. House of Hollow, for one. Really enjoyed that YA horror book. The Anthropocene Reviewed, I really liked that. I listened to that on audiobook while we were driving to and from the beach, so that was a really good experience. The plot was pretty good. I didn't love the ending. Push was pretty good. Definitely sucked me in, and I was like obsessed with reading that book. It was a good reading experience. Picking out a favorite, I feel like it can't be the plot because I really just like didn't like the way the ending was structured. It was very predictable. You as a reader pick up on what's going on way faster than the character does, and I didn't find that as enjoyable. The push is good, but I don't know, it doesn't like personally resonate with me in a way to make it a standout favorite. The Anthropocene Reviewed was really delightful, but I don't remember a lot of it because it's just like essays and I really don't remember a lot of details about it. I just remember really enjoying the experience of listening to John Green read that book to me. So I think it's gonna have to be House of Hollow for May because that was pretty good. I do really like that. I would definitely read that again. It does stand out in my memory. Next up, June was a terrible reading month. It was so bad. This is when we moved and I just did not want to read. I was just so stressed out. I also read The Priory of the Orange Tree, which is like 800 pages long, fantasy about dragons, and so that took up a lot of my month. Definitely not my favorite. Didn't really like that. I did not like In the Raven is Dark. One Last Stop was disappointing, and You Must Not Miss was surprising. So it's between those two. You Must Not Miss, I will say, like, that doesn't stand out as a book I really love, but One Last Stop also for sure doesn't. So I think I do like You Must Not Miss more. It's very weird. It has like Donnie Darko vibes, and I just really love Katrina Leno's style where she is usually like set in the real world, but there's like weird stuff going on, and so it's contemporary but with surreal aspects or just like magical things that I think is a really good balance. So yeah, we're gonna pick You Must Not Miss for June. All right, so now we're heading into the second half of the year, going into July. Here are all the books that I read in July. This was my comeback month. I read so much more in July. I think we had the Summerween readathon during July, so I was reading spooky books. It was a good time. Definitely some standouts that I did not really enjoy, like Survive the Night, hated that. The Romance Book Club, DNF'd that. And A Court of Frost and Starlight did absolutely nothing for me, but also some really good, solid standouts that I loved. I had so much fun with The Maidens. I loved People We Meet on Vacation. I really liked Honey Girl. I really liked A House at the Bottom of a Lake. I really liked Bathhouse. I really liked For Your Own Good. So this was just a much better reading month. I feel like I can't pick The Maidens because a lot of people don't like it, and when I heard their critiques, I was like, oh yeah, that's true. Like, it wasn't a very well structured book, but I had fun reading it. But it's not like a book that I feel is this like perfect, beautiful thing that is a standout favorite to me. I do feel that way about A House at the Bottom of a Lake and People We Meet on Vacation. And things have gotten worse since we last spoke. Oh, what a tough decision. I cannot tell you how much I have not stopped thinking about People We Meet on Vacation ever since I read it, which is very rare for me with romance to resonate that hard with me. But I do adore that romance. Do I like it more than the beautiful contemporary horror of A House at the Bottom of a Lake? I do. I think People We Meet on Vacation was more entertaining, which boosts it a little bit more for me. And then compared to Things Have Gotten Worse since we last spoke, I still think I would choose People We Meet on Vacation because that book is kind of gross. And so, I don't know, it's like, I don't love gross things. I just really thought that book was well done, but it's not my most favorite thing that I've ever read. So People We Meet on Vacation is the choice for July. All right, going into August, that was my birthday month. Here are all the books that I read in August. I don't remember a lot about August. I don't remember feeling any sort of way, but just kind of looking at these, it looks like it was not a great month for me. I mean, there are books that I enjoyed, but looking at the average of this, it feels very 3-star. I know I did not really enjoy Malibu Rising or Slow Fire Burning or The Turnout or Local Woman Missing or The Ocean at the End of the Lane. So yeah, it's more lower rating month. Ones that I know I did really enjoy, I really liked The Other Black Girl. I really liked 56 Days. I really loved Every Heart a Doorway. And The Wolf and the Woodsman was good, but I ended up DNFing it halfway through because I just wasn't in the mood to keep reading it at that moment, but I will finish it eventually. Oh gosh, and Once There Were Wolves, how did I miss that? That's the second book from Charlotte McConaughey. Very beautiful, loved it. Not quite Migration's level love for me, but still really, really good. They're just really similar, so I feel like it's kind of hard to love books that are very similar. Usually like the first one the most, at least I do. But I feel like my gut is just saying it's gotta be Every Heart a Doorway. That was just like a perfect book for me. I'm really excited about the rest of the series. Yeah, I love those, so that's gonna have to be the choice for August. All right, now September. Here are all the books that I read in September. Not a super solid month. This was another bit of a meh month. I did not really like Infinite Blanky or Project Hail Mary or Not a Happy Family or Pure Nessie or Mother May I or Razorblade Tears. So really the only ones I liked. I loved Rock, Paper, Scissors. That was a 5-star. The Nature of Witches was pretty good. All's Well, that was a 4-star. And then The Dead in the Dark, I think I gave it 4 stars at the time, but it's more of a 5-star now. So if I had to choose between these, the top 2 that I would be stuck between would be Rock, Paper, Scissors and The Dead in the Dark. And here's the thing, I really loved Rock, Paper, Scissors when I read it. Like, I was writing home about it. I wanted everyone to pick that book up. I really had a lot of fun with that thriller. The second I finished it and like ran the story back through my mind and explained the story, I was like, not very good. Like, the way it was told and done was entertaining, but the actual meat of the story wasn't perfect for me. However, if I think about The Dead in the Dark, that's a book that's like grown on me over time. Like, after reading it, I think back on it and I love it even more than I did when I was reading it. So I feel like that's got to be the choice for September. I really want to reread that book eventually because it was just really good and I didn't give it enough credit the first time. All right, next up, spooky season, October. Here are all the books that I read in October. This was not a great month for me. I read a lot, but I didn't love a lot. I did not really like The Hollow Places or Summer Suns, My Heart is a Chainsaw, The Ex-Hex, Mirrorland, and You Should Have Left. The major ones that I did really enjoy would be The Book of Accidents and The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. And I'm gonna sit here and think about it for a second just to give the books the second that they deserve, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna choose The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein, but let me just sit on that for just like a second. Ooh, complication came into play. I forgot about Down Among the Sticks and Bones. Oh no, I do not know how to choose between those two because they give me very similar vibes. All right, let's just talk this through for a second. So, The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein blew me away. I was expecting to not like it. I really loved it. It follows Elizabeth Frankenstein growing up with Victor, protecting him, and then realizing he's a monster and being stuck in an uneven power dynamic. And it's a beautiful, beautiful story. Great atmosphere, very intriguing, very fun to read. The ending gets a little bit wonky, but not in a way that rubbed me too much of the wrong way. Down Among the Sticks and Bones. This is the second book in the Wayward Children series. It's a prequel, so you meet Jack and Jill before the events of the first book. They're sisters, and you see how different they are and how their parents tried to shape them to be these different things that they wanted. Then they end up in this magic land. They go their respective ways. They grow up differently, and there is both Dracula and Frankenstein vibes. Oh no! I don't know which one to pick. I've put more thought into this than I put into most things in life, and I don't know, it's just stressing me out. I feel like I have to just choose The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein because that book's really special to me. I know a lot of people love Down Among the Sticks and Bones. I don't know, I'm just gonna choose it and we're gonna move on. I'm just gonna let that be my choice. It's The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. Ah! Okay, hopefully November is an easier choice. Here are all the books that I read in November. A couple that I loved, a couple that I didn't. So I DNF'd Little Women. Ghost of Harvard started strong, but then it fell apart for me. The Last Flight, I DNF'd, did not like it. Comfort Me with Apples, I didn't really like. Mrs. March, I feel very strange feelings about. Under the Spring Door kind of let me down. The Love Hypothesis, I think is far too overhyped. I also think In My Dreams I Hold a Knife is far too overhyped, but it was still good. And then A Spindle Splintered, I really loved. I gave it 5 stars. It's a novella that is the start of a series. So I feel like I would be between A Spindle Splintered, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, and if I had to pick the third top option, I think it might be The Love Hypothesis. This just was not a super strong month. Okay, does The Love Hypothesis, yeah, I don't think we even need to consider that. Yeah, okay, so we're between A Spindle Splintered and In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. This is really tough because it's comparing a novella that is the beginning of a series against a full standing novel, so that doesn't feel super fair. I did rate A Spindle Splintered better than In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, but In My Dreams I Hold a Knife feels like a more solid story to me because it's a full novel. Man, I thought this was gonna be an easier decision. Okay, if you held both of them in front of me and asked me which one I would rather reread, I would rather reread A Spindle Splintered, but that's because it's a novella and because it's the start of a series, and so I know I'm going to reread it when the second book comes out. If you ask me which I think was more cleverly crafted, I would say In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, but that's comparing a thriller to a fantasy. If you ask me which is more compulsively readable, I would say both. They were both equally entertaining to me. If you ask me which was more unique, I would say A Spindle Splintered. If you ask me which I remember more specific plot details about, it would be about equal, honestly. And I just read them last month. That is tough. That is tough. I feel like I should go with A Spindle Splintered because that I was like immediately 5 stars. In My Dreams I Hold a Knife was a 3.5. So I think I need to choose A Spindle Splintered for November. And then December will be really easy. Here's all the books I'm counting for reading in December because I end my reading year a little early so that I can film content, do all my end of year stuff, get videos done early, take a little break. So this is all I'm counting for December, and I just put out a reading vlog reading each of these books. So if you watch that reading vlog, you already know the answer to this, and my favorite is 8 Perfect Hours. I love this story. It was not a Christmas romance. It threw me off with the cover. It was not very wintry, but it was such a beautiful story and I really, really loved it. So that's gonna be our winner for December. And now we have to go back through and start making hard decisions again. Yay, cannot wait. So let's go back to the first half of the year and just work our way through this bracket. Let's just get through the first half of the year. All right, first decision to make is Migrations or The Devil in the Dark Water. And that is the one decision I did not want to have to make. They're both perfect books. They're just different genres. So that is tricky. How am I supposed to make a decision? I'm gonna have to get some like factors into how I rate books, like entertaining, memorable, and unique. We'll just go off of that. So entertaining wise, The Devil in the Dark Water was the more entertaining one. For memorable, I would say they're both equally memorable to me. And then for uniqueness, I think they're both unique. So do we have to go entertaining? Do we have to go The Devil in the Dark Water because it was more entertaining? But Migrations made me cry. And I'm gonna let that be the trump card, so we're choosing Migrations. But then between The Devil in the Dark Water and A Court of Thorns and Roses, I know I would pick The Devil in the Dark Water, which brings us back to that same decision of choosing Migrations or The Devil in the Dark Water. And we already chose Migrations, so we're just gonna have to go with that. We're just gonna have to commit to Migrations being my favorite of the first quarter of the year. Oh my God, let's move on before I regret that. So between Who is Maud Dixon and House of Hollow, I think I'd pick Who is Maud Dixon. That one was just more thrilling and surprising and exciting to me. But then between House of Hollow and You Must Not Miss, I think I would pick House of Hollow, which brings us back to the same decision. And I'm gonna have to keep bringing Who is Maud Dixon through to the end. And then between Migrations or Who is Maud Dixon, that makes it easier for me to choose Migrations as my favorite for the first half of the year. Yeah, I feel good about that because Who is Maud Dixon, the first 80 pages were really boring and it's like good and thrilling and exciting, but it's more entertaining. Migrations is like life-changing. So let's move on to the second half of the year, starting with People We Meet on Vacation or Every Heart a Doorway. Why is this so hard? I did not think it was gonna be this hard. This is very hard. It's just because I read so many different types of books and it's hard to compare apples to oranges. So honestly, I should have broken this out by genre, but that would be too complicated. So I feel like it feels right to choose Every Heart a Doorway because that book is just a little more special and unique to me. And then choosing between Every Heart a Doorway and The Dead in the Dark, I think I would choose Every Heart a Doorway still. Because The Dead in the Dark was really good, but I think I just personally loved Every Heart a Doorway more. So that makes that my favorite of the third quarter. And then at the end of the year, The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein or Spindle Splintered. I think I would pick The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein there. And then between a Spindle Splintered or 8 Perfect Hours, I think I would pick 8 Perfect Hours for that as well. And then we're between The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein or 8 Perfect Hours. And I think I'm gonna have to go with The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein here. So now we have to choose between The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein or Every Heart a Doorway. And I just hate comparing novellas to novels. That is just such an unfair. The Every Heart a Doorway series is like really good as a whole, but the book by itself, yeah, it was a 5-star, but if I just think about it, it's like not that impactful to me or memorable on its own as the first book. So I think I just gotta go with my gut and say The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. So that means now I have to choose between Migrations and The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein, which is just like not even a competition, it feels like, because Migrations is just so good. I feel like it's just gotta be Migrations. Migrations is my favorite book of the year. Congratulations, now we know, of course. The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein is still very good, but it doesn't beat Migrations. Like, Migrations is just the perfect book for me. I love it so much. I try to make everyone read this book. It's so good. Yeah, okay, I feel good about that. I feel like, you know, part of me knew we were gonna end here, that my favorite book was going to be Migrations, but I did want to do the bracket challenge just to see, because I read this book in January, like at the beginning of the year, and I've read so many good books since then that I didn't know if it would really end up making it out on the top still, but that's really saying something. If I read this book at the beginning of the year and it is still my absolute favorite book of the entire year, that is crazy. But it's just that good. So if you have not read this book yet, I hope this has convinced you to pick it up. It's beautiful, it's so good. I very highly recommend it, obviously. This was very fun, but also very excruciating at the same time. Had to make so many hard decisions. It's like choosing your favorite child, just impossible things to do. But yeah, let me know down in the comments below if there are any choices that surprised you, anything that you might have picked over another. Let me know if you've read Migrations, and if you haven't, please go pick it up. It's so good. But that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.